Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all doing? How y'all doing? It's about a minute till the 8 o'clock hour, but we're about to get started with our second episode of First Choice, and we're honored to have Miss Lisa Carol Rose on the line with us today. Like I was saying before, when I placed the posts on Facebook, she is the owner and operator of Miss Mary's Seafood. And we're just going to chop it up a little bit and find out, hey, was that her first choice? So let's bring her in. Hello, hello, Lisa. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Welcome, welcome, welcome to First Choice. I'm excited to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Not a problem whatsoever. Thank you for accepting. I know you're busy. You do a lot of things in the Whitestone area, in the Kilmarnock area, especially with your business. So I'm glad to have this time carved out with you. For the people that may not know you, let them know a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, my name is Lisa Rose. I'm 46. I'm a mom to a 24-year-old and a 19-year-old. And I was born and raised here in Whitestone. I come from a long line of commercial watermen and farmers. So I currently own Miss Mary Seafood here in Whitestone. So with the family history background, I reach out to local watermen in Virginia, up and down the East Coast, the Gulf of Mexico, to bring the freshness here to you guys.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people that may not know, and well, let me backtrack a little bit. So you were raised into this. So this is something that literally probably was your first choice, or did you have something else that you wanted to do, but you were like, man, this is the family business. I got to do this.
This was my absolute last choice and worst nightmare on the same. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I tell you, I went to college. I could not wait to get out of this industry. I saw the highs and lows of what this industry does to working in Waterman, and it's tough. It's tough on all of them. So, um, and I went to college. I have a degree in drafting and design. I was fortunate enough to go to study abroad in Italy because I loved art and
Mm.
architecture and stuff like that. So, and I came back home and got married and then got divorced and worked as a waitress around here and helped out on the boats, my brother's boat, which is the Lady Lindsay, a little bit. And my grandmother, my dad's mom, had a stroke a little over 10 years ago. And I was taking care of her, and she had fallen. So she had to go to the nursing home to Lancashire, here in Kilmarnock. And while she was there, basically for rehab, I was doing odds and ends and still waitressing at nighttime. So I was helping my dad and my brother remodel my parents' laundry room. Well, I ran up to my grandmother's house, which I don't know how many times before, and ran down those two steps in flip flops, and my foot rolled, and I broke four bones in my foot and sprained my
Mm.
ankle. I was not insured, I had no health insurance. So that was a hard lesson. Plus, so then, with me being single, I was my only income, which I had none. And my savings was depleted. My parents could only help out, but so much. I didn't have that nest egg of any sort. So I had to go to Lancaster and get on welfare. And the hurdles that people have to go through, that was pretty much, it was an eye opening experience.
Mm.
Then my house went into foreclosure twice. So it was tough. It was tough trying to get back on my feet. It was tough trying to pay debt. It was tough trying to pay bills off. And my brother looked at me and well, let me back up. And all of those circumstances led to a greater depression.
Mm.
And that depression, I started drinking, there was drugs, I was making life choices that were just not, and my kids were not proud of me. So, and when you're in that slump, you cry for help, but no one's listening. So, and I just became very seclusive. So my brother, we were on family vacation, and my brother said to me, this was August, 8 years ago, and he said, "Why don't you come jump on the boat with me?" And I laughed. I'm like, because I don't want to. I hate the seafood industry. I hate the politics behind it. I hate the public's opinion behind it, because tradesmen, when you're in a small town, I feel that there are the outsiders looking in, and you're not valued. You're
Mm.
not appreciated. You're looked down upon, and how people talk to you, you get angry. So I jumped on that boat,
Well, you sound like
not
you,
even.
you,
Hmm?
you with you saying that, you actually sound like you clean for a living. But I'll back up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I do clean for a living because I have to keep my store clean. But
Right,
it
right.
is. It's no matter what your trade is, whether you're a mechanic or a fisherman, or you clean, whether it's for residential or businesses, whatever if you're working with your hands and your feet, I mean, you're just not valued. So I jumped on that boat, and of course I had a cell phone, and I just started on Facebook.
Mm.
So, and Facebook at that time, where everybody was saying, "Hey, I'm going to the bathroom. Hey, I'm going to my grandmother's house." So I'm out there going, "Hey, I'm on a boat and I'm taking pictures." Well, my pictures, none of that really didn't take off until, so the season started October. So it was October, November, December. January, we go to York River. And we were down there for 3 weeks, and I was taking pictures, and Spencer Headley was, as I was putting pictures on my Facebook page, he was tagging the watermen from down there that he knew, because my brother doesn't have Facebook. He still doesn't. And so that's how my social media pages grew, because of other watermen who I was friends with were taking the pictures. So then it turned into, can you get me a picture of my daddy's boat? Can you get me a picture of my husband's boat? Because all of a sudden, my pictures became of value.
Mm.
My pictures became of substance for a very underappreciated trade. And this, that's one of the things that I love having this store here in Whitestone, is because when my parents had the Oyster House and on the Rappahannock down off Wimble Point Road, I remember a lot of the families, and they were, you know, white families, black families. There were a few Mexicans, but not many, because that was back in the 80s and 90s. So,
Mm.
but we all went to school together, and we played on the playground together, and we ate dinner together, and you ate breakfast together. You worked together. I was There was nothing of any sorts of disrespect or disconnect of any sort,
Mm.
because everybody had a job to do, and fishing was 24/7. There was no 9 to 5, you know and so they come into the store, and they're like, "We heard that you're Lacey Jr.'s daughter." And I said, "Yes, yes, sir." "Well, your father's a good fisherman, I remember." And then I remember them. I remember when they're coming in here, and then they're telling me stories of how, somebody in the family, they went fishing, and the fish that they caught that day, and they salted it for the winter, and so they'd have something to eat. Because remember, back a long time ago, the rich people lived in town and the poor people lived on the water. So, listening to the stories of how to preserve a fish. So there was all these things that I had shut out as a kid,
Mm.
because this industry was so vicious, that I appreciate it now, because my mind is clear and my ears are just they're waiting to listen to everything. So I value what I was running away from. So in the meantime, how did I get to Miss Mary Seafood? Well, because of me taking the pictures, I tried to form a Watermen's Association called WAVE, Watermen of Virginia Engaged. And I worked really hard on that for 2 years. And it was a nonprofit trying to get started up. But my biggest hurdle is that I was a woman trying to do a man's job. And many men told me that I belonged in the kitchen. Many men told me I didn't belong on a boat. Many men told me this. Absolutely. Wow. So I laughed, and instead of getting angry, I went up to the Dollar General and I bought a loaf of bread, bought a pack of bologna, and I bought brown paper bags. And I bought the cheap fold-over sandwich bags. And I made each one of them fools, and that's what I'm going to call them, fools, a sandwich. And I cut it into fours, and I even cut the crust off. And that morning when I got down there to the boat, I put a black magic mark, and I put everybody's name on it. Even I didn't know their real name. I knew their boat name. And I said, here you go. I just want to let y'all know I made y'all lunch today. Now I'm going to go to work. And that day, my brother and I came back to the dock first. We had our limit before anybody else out there. And I looked and I waited. And I said, y'all got beat by a girl. And now, and they were mad. And I didn't care because it was about me and my choices, not about them and their choices.
Right.
So I got discouraged and I started drinking heavily again. And, because the wave just wasn't taking off. And I'm like, but you all don't understand, even that they were disrespecting me, the public's perception and the political interference was way more degrading than them telling me that I don't belong in that water. Because it's just what I remember, I'm like, right. Okay, I have a chance now to tell what's actually going on out there. So I ended up in the hospital because I didn't know how to stop drinking, and I dehydrated myself and I ended up in the ER, and the doctor looked at me and said, if you don't quit drinking, you're not going to live to see another 5 years. And I said, okay. So I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And that night that's when Tony Ferguson messaged me and he told me to get well. So every now and then, he would send me a little message and send me a message about God and angels and such. And in March, I was going to Poquoson and to go meet a waterman who had gotten in trouble, and he wanted some help to understand the law and what he was facing. And I said, I'll come down and talk to you. And I did, to him and his wife. And that's what I want the program to be, is to help the watermen, because the way the laws were written was absolutely absurd. So, you had to get a lawyer just to read what they had written, and watermen aren't lawyers. Right. They're simple men. So, and women. So that's when I met Tony. He said, well, why don't you come to George's, which was a restaurant down there, and I'll buy you a drink. And he did. So, and that's how we met. Okay. And Tony doesn't drink. He had quit drinking. Let's see, in October will be 23 years. Gotten into trouble and, in and out of jail, drugs, guns, the whole 9 yards. He grew up in Poquoson. So Hampton Roads, and he had a better life, and he was working on the tugboat. So he looked at me one day and he said, well, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but, the choice is yours. And I just Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, that was my last drink. And it was boring to drink alone. So my prayers were answered. And, I also didn't give up. I gave up God because I thought God had forgotten about me. But it was me who had forgotten about God. And when I started talking more to him, he started leading me down paths that I was sketchy. I'm not going to lie to you, but I needed that. I
Yeah.
refer to it that God was my Mr. Miyagi. Remember the TV or the movie
Right.
Karate Kid? And, Daniel-san had Mr. Miyagi. Well,
Yes.
God is my Mr. Miyagi because there are times when I'm like, why are these hurdles coming after me? And I don't do that anymore. I say, okay, I'm listening. What you got? And when the hurdle comes, I write it down because I know that I need to pay attention to this because it's going to benefit me somewhere down the line in the very near future. And it does every single time,
Mm,
every single time.
yeah.
So I've I have to find a way to nourish my body and and keep going. So nourishment was from the sea, from selling fish, and that's what I I, I stress for cleaner waters, cleaner land. Um, I'm able where my fish comes from. I pay attention to all of that. Water flows down, does not flow up. So what we do on land affects the seafood that I want to sell. The stuff that we put into our bodies, like drinking, affects us, all of
Right.
that stuff. So, and if we put faith back into our body, look what you're going to get back up.
Exactly. Exactly. I
Yep.
love it. I love it. I mean, look what happened with you. You put faith into your body. You got a man that's right there next to you going down the same path. You're going down the path together. And
Yep.
look how everything turned out. Now, with Miss Mary Seafood, I know, do you still have the second location as well, or you just have the one?
No, that was a lesson that I did not, you know, grasp right away.
Mm, okay.
So yeah, I did not. I got greedy. We had a great year because of, of course, COVID, and um, people wanted us to be across the bridge. And I said, so I hired a girl, Megan, and she was here doing our dips and spreads. And her dad was the one to own the location that we had rented for the year. But she unfortunately told me some personal business about her dad that I made it my business. And it was none of my business in the first place. So here I am in this, and this is a part of growth that I wish that I had realized before, but I didn't, and that's okay.
Mm,
Um, that as a business owner and a woman in business, that not everything is your business.
yeah.
If it's not part of, if it doesn't affect you directly. And so that was the first hurdle of the first 3 weeks that we were open. And I had some very dishonest people that I hired. Um, then Tony gets hurt. So this was all happening within 2 months.
Mm,
And I didn't insure Tony. Tony didn't have accidental insurance. And the next thing I know, he's going underneath the knife. So he was November, December, January, February. So in literally 3 months and 1 week, he was underneath the knife. He has an 8-inch scar. He had one ruptured disc, two herniated disc, and a bone spur that they had to fix.
mm,
And with Tony being an addict, VCU, he never disclosed that he was an addict, and they pumped him full of narcotics. So we had a battle of drug use from pills. And when he couldn't get those pills to alleviate the pain, he was then sourcing them from people that he knew from the old days. So I had a big hurdle on my hands and and then I had hired, another crew to come in and take over the throw the buoy, and they too were doing drugs. So
mm.
I had to, I begged and pleaded, okay, what do I need to do to get this back in order? And I cried many nights. I didn't think that we were going to survive last year. 2021 was it was a complete opposite of 2020. And so we lost a lot of money because Tony couldn't crab, he couldn't oyster, he couldn't shrimp. Those were the three fisheries that he did. He couldn't even be a captain on a tugboat. He couldn't do anything. And then I was here trying to do it all. And I was very stressed out. So I didn't drink, but I started eating bad food that does weigh you down, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And but I just started praying and I prayed. And the other hurdle that came was December 31st. And one of the guys who used to work here cutting the fish, we had asked them to wear a mask because a lot of our customers, majority of our customers are, 60 and older. And COVID was on the rise and they were scared. And they had asked if Jamie was going to cut our fish, could Jamie wear a mask? And so Captain Tony came in the door and he said, Jamie, you have to wear a mask. And before he could even finish the sentence, Jamie told us he quit. And I was like, oh, what are we going to do now? But ironically, it was God's answered prayers because it forced me to redirect my business. And I can honestly tell you, 6 months later, I am in a position where I should have been 2 years ago. So nothing, money, you can gain the money back because look at where I was before.
Right.
In foreclosure and that. And I did not hit that bottom, but I came close to it because one, I didn't believe in my faith. And two, I didn't believe in myself. And then three, I didn't mind my own business. So God tells me, God doesn't want you he wants you taking care of your house, not somebody else's house.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I didn't do. And now I'm taking care of my house.
Amen. Amen. Most definitely. I
Yep.
always wondered about the fishermen and when you get your seafood and things of that nature. Honestly, what's the average time that you wake up to go out there on the boat to go fishing and do all that, and then have to get the place set up with the seafood that's caught? Do you do all that in the same day?
I don't anymore because I can't. There's just not enough time because in the retail business, customers want the same hours every single day. They don't like the flipping and the flopping and what time you come into the boat. Not like it used to be, where people would go down to the docks and waiting for the fishermen to come in. That doesn't happen anymore. So I had to give up, going out on the boat. But when I did, and it just depended because one of the things is that you can't leave the dock before a certain amount of time, or it's a violation. You get a ticket. I mean, what other profession in the world do you know that gets ticketed and penalized for going? So, and it just, whatever the time the sun was rising, that's what time you could leave an hour earlier before sun. Now, when we were going from Reedville to Tangier, that was about a 2-hour boat ride because, we were only going 11 knots. So I'd have to get up 2:00 in the morning to get myself together to leave the house by 3:15 to be over in Reedville and then to be able to, leave the dock there to go over to Tangier so we can oyster over there. It was a long day, but thankfully I could sleep in the boat. So it wasn't too bad. I tell you, that was some good sleep too. But Tony gets up. Right now he's not crabbing because it's just we can't afford to crab. I mean, that's just the cold, honest truth. By the time that the insurance for two boats is just under $7,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
So you have that to factor in. You have to have insurance if you're going to dock at any marina, especially if a wooden boat. Miss Mary's a wooden bottom boat. And because we have the Southern Cross and we have a warranty on the engine, we have to have insurance on that. So that's your biggest expense. Then all the gear. I mean, everything is just gone sky high, of course.
Mm.
So you have your crab pot, your rope, the call rings, the zinc, the stuff that you have to dip it in. You have your buoys. If you're oystering, you have that gear. Then you have your wear and tear on your bibs, your overalls, and stuff like that. Then you have to pay your man, your helper. And then you have to buy bait. They were using razor clams, and a bag of razor clams was over $100. That's why crabs were so expensive, because they were using the most expensive bait to try to catch the crabs. Is menhaden, and so that's your oily fish.
Mm.
Crabs want meat, and so when they are like Tony's from down Hampton Roads area, so they catch a different kind of crab than we do up here. And he's not used to that, because down there you're catching the busted sooks, and people go, flip out because of that. Well, you have to understand the water temperature, because the water temperature is going to kill that crab faster than us harvesting those crabs. So that's when science and the government came in and said, okay, well, let's harvest those crabs then. And, your the monetary value in that plays a big factor as well, too. Just like with the oysters, the clams, the menhaden, all of that stuff. So that's why Virginia is third in the United States, because of scallop landing, crab landing, oyster landings, clam landing, and the menhaden landing. We have a huge fishery in Virginia. And even though you can't, and now shrimp, even though you can't do all of those in the bay because it's illegal to trawl in the bay, those are still landing in Virginia. And that's how they count those things. So, but, I lost track about the crabs. So the busted sooks is your picking crabs. So
Okay.
your crab meat, the crab meat I sell, that's where all that crab meat's coming from, is your busted sooks. Having regular sooks and jimmies, it's way too expensive for any picking house to pick those.
Mm.
You wouldn't be able to afford the crab meat.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because
Now,
busted sooks are cheap. They're like $30 a bushel. And so when people, when Tony does bring them here and he takes the cushions off, because you have to go by a color coded chart. Yeah, it's really weird. It's very tedious to go all through all these things.
wow.
And they're flipping out that you took. And I said, but it's already done its thing. You're not going to have any more eggs. But I'm telling you, if you buy crab meat from anywhere, or you eat crab cakes from anywhere, you're eating a busted sook female. I mean, I'm trying to tell these people, but they just can't visually, accept it. So.
Oh my goodness. So now,
Yep.
if I do have a crab cake, I'm gonna be thinking about busted sook now. Thanks. Thank you.
You should,
Thank you.
yeah. But make sure it's local, because here's the other part with the hurdle of being a fisherman. You're competing with imported product.
Mm.
So it was Father's Day weekend. I'll give you a prime example. It was Father's Day weekend, and the Pickin' House down in Poquoson, who they've been in business for 70 years. I can walk in that crab house at any single given time of any day, and it is spotless. It is clean. You can eat off the floor. That's why I love getting the picked crab meat from these people, from this family. And I go in there, and he said, "Can you move 100 pounds of jumbo lump?" And I said, "Well, my customers want a deal." And so he dropped the price. When I tell you he dropped the price, $20 off of a pound of jumbo lump crab meat.
Mm.
And I said, okay, then I'm my customer. So I said, I'll take 1,000 pounds, and we put it on the board, and we sold it, and it went like crazy because people couldn't understand. I said, because he had so much crab meat that he couldn't get rid of, because he could not compete with the Venezuelan crab meat market.
Oh wow.
And that's all it was, is that there are so many people, because they taste the same. You legit do not know the difference. The only way they know is if science came in and did a DNA test. And that is the reason why you see local crab meat bottom out, because they cannot compete with the Venezuelan crab meat.
Mm,
You have,
mm.
yeah, you have a lot like the Chinese flounder. If you ever see flounder that's pretty cheap and expensive somewhere else, it's because it's being imported. You know?
Wow,
Yeah,
man, that's
it
that's
is.
that's really messed up. I mean, you're taking a livelihood away from local people, from folks that's
Yes.
trying to, raise their family on hard
Yep.
earned money and hard honest work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely, man. So folks out there, let them know how they can go about. What are your store hours? When do you stay? When do you open up? Do you do like special events or anything of that nature? If somebody may be having a family reunion or something, are you
hmm
able to like cater that or something of like that?
Currently, not right now. I'm waiting for the town of Whitestone to turn on the public septic system. So I am, can do that through the health department. Right now, I'm having to privately pump out our septic tank, and at $300 a week, I was going in the hole. So
Wow,
it was
three
not
hundred
a,
dollars a week. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
um, yeah. And, we've been patiently waiting since I moved into this house for 4 years for the town to turn this on, but, good old government. And so I'm waiting on that. I can do a few things. We're starting to do some seafood boils right now, playing around with that, and trying to make it affordable. That's one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I know I sell, seafood, but I also need to make it to where it's quality for number one. I mean, you want to get, it's expensive, but I want to make sure that you get the best there ever is, because I'm a consumer too. I mean, I have to buy my seafood, to eat it.
Exactly.
It's nothing's given to me. So, and I try to do deals. I mean, I'm going, okay, well, if I buy this much, my customers are looking for this deal. But right now I'm open Thursdays through Sunday. We open at 10 a.m. At the evening, it varies, each day. But I have a website, Miss Mary seafood.com. You can go on there and I keep all the hours and everything update. Right now, I'm going to be open on Wednesdays throughout the summer while I have my daughters home from college. So she can help out a little bit on that. The menu is very limited on Wednesdays because I can only get a few things. Like all of my big ticketed, like my shrimp, my scallops are coming off the boat. I get that on Wednesdays because I'm having to deal with the hurdles of logistics. And since COVID, the trucking has really screwed up things. I was trying to be open on, Tuesdays and Wednesdays or even Mondays, but the seafood was not to quality. And I'm not going to sell something. I don't sell bait. I sell fresh fish.
Right.
So, I have those. I have that I have to stand behind. Um, I am trying to get EBT. So right now it's all about me trying to get out of the lease with my current point of sale system so I can be able to carry that, because I used to be on welfare, I swiped my EBT card, and I'm here to feed everybody, not just one class of income individuals. I do donate to the food banks. I do the one in Warsaw, the Northern Food Bank, but I donate to the Whitestone Food Bank, and the one down Mary Point right now,
Okay.
to more Wiggins. So, I try to help as much as I can with anybody. I do have families that, I know they're going through some hard times. So, what can I do to help them, or find a cheaper fish that I don't normally carry? And I've done that. So, um, that's pretty much it.
All right, all right. Well, one question: what, in your opinion, why do you think the seafood boils started being so popular all of a sudden?
It's a casserole. People love casseroles. People
Mm,
like that one all in one type thing. It's flavorful. Um, and you get a little bit of something. You get a little bit of the crab, you get a little bit of the shrimp, you get a little bit of the clam or the mussel or the lobster tail. I mean, who doesn't love corn? Then you got that potato that's sopped it all up. Um, and we serve ours with a, a loaf of bread, not a loaf of bread, but those French loaves, French
Yeah.
baguettes is what they call it.
Right.
And I found this company that I really like because it's crunchy on the outside, but really like just tender on the inside bread. And it's perfect to soak up all that, garlic butter juice that you want from the seafood boil. So
Right.
we do a Cajun one and then we do like a garlic herb one that we found. So, and we're trying to get more popular with those because, you know, it was a shortage of crabs. But luckily, I think the crabs are coming around and they're starting to pick up and people are catching crabs right now. So that's a good thing.
Well,
Yeah.
I might have to come down there and get me one or something and bring it back to the house and try it out because I haven't tried
Yeah.
one. I haven't tried one yet. I'm not a big sausage person because I don't eat pork. So that was my
Oh, yeah.
main. Yeah, that was
Yep.
my main reason. But
We've done it with, people, we've had people who are allergic to seafood and they just want the sausage. We've done it without the sausage. We've done it with chicken.
oh
Um,
man, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we're
Mm,
trying to experiment and, just do some tastings here and there, getting the public's feedback until we're able to, launch that when the septic is turned on. Because once that turned on, then I'll be able to do anything, as far as food wise, because we do want to start cooking back again.
right.
Um, we wanted to offer fried fish dinners and grilled fish and fried oysters and shrimp and everything because we literally every day people are wanting lunch or dinner
Yeah.
and we just can't offer it right now. So
Well, all right, Miss Lisa Rose, the owner and operator of Miss Mary's Seafood. Thank you very much for your time. And then also, I want to say thank you so very much again for the help that you provided for me, in my time of need and everything. So I do appreciate you. Thank you very much for what you're doing in the Whitestone area. And
well, thank you.
folks, y'all really need to look into your seafood company that you have right here in the Whitestone area
Oh,
and support all the local businesses, but most
that's right.
definitely the ones that give back to your community and to your
Yes.
area. So definitely. So thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. If anybody's out there just down, look up because it does get better. You just got to keep getting up and put your shoes on and make your bed, put your shoes on and keep on moving because it's going to get better. I promise you. Been there and that's the recipe.
She's
Make
a
your bed
hundred
and put
percent.
your shoes on.
She
Yep.
is 100% correct. So you're right.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So
All right.
you have a great
Thank you,
night.
darling.
All
You
right.
too, sweetie. All
Okay.
right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, man, that was another great episode of First Choice. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we're going to be sitting down with my brother Jim Connor. I believe, yes, Jim Connor will be on First Choice Tuesday, and man, like Miss Lisa said, definitely when you think things are tough, just look up, pray to God, have some faith, um, and it'll all work out. It'll all work out. And you have to make sure you're willing to be open enough to allow it to work out. So, y'all be peaceful, y'all be blessed. Until next time, what was your first choice?